Hey, welcome to Social Work Sunday Tea. It is June 26, 2022. Great day to be alive and well. Glad everybody is on. Just give me some hearts or some hey, how you doing? Something. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for joining in. We're gonna talk about this thing. We have a special guest. Gary, if you can come in and tell us and introduce yourself, greatly
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Shakia, well, thank you for having me on Social Work Sunday Tea. Um, Shoot, man, I love the intro and all the little effects. I'm sitting there taking notes, trying to figure out how I add it to my podcast. Like, hold
Listen,
on now.
our movies, our movies
Yeah,
on the iPhone. I was just like playing around with it. I was like, okay, let's. Yeah, I had this
yeah.
idea.
This thing look good here. I said, hold on now. Let me figure out put something put this in play. But no, sorry about that, y'all. My name is Gary Trey Taylor, licensed clinical social worker from Caroline County, Virginia. My husband and my dad. Community member. Community. I guess I don't want to say activist, but organizer at times. Podcaster, author, deacon at my church.
Come on, Deacon.
Yeah, sneakerhead, all type of other stuff, and car guy, man. And also own a private practice, Uphold 31-8, which I work with African American men and women, primarily focused on African American men. And I think that's everything. Without trying to, get too lengthy. But that's me in a nutshell.
No, you good. You good. Let's talk about all that. It's all good stuff. It's all good and productive, and it's helping the people. At the end of the day, it's for the people. It's for the culture.
Yeah,
And I really want to say thank you for getting on the podcast. And we met through on Twitter. And then
Twitter.
when I had went
Yeah,
to my doc space, shout out to them.
yeah. Shout out to
They
Space
had an
and
event
Mario and
in
everybody.
yeah, in Chicago, and I was like, I'm coming, Trey, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And so we got up there. I was like, I bet, So yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool. It was cool. I was like,
It
all
was
right, it's dope. It was
Yeah, it was
dope.
cool. It was interesting. It's always great to meet the Twitter homies in person. And it was just like we had known each other for years. So that's why we joking on here, stuff like that, because it was a very genuine,
Yeah.
authentic relationship in the reference of meeting each other. And so when I was going to Chicago, I was hitting all the Chicago social workers like, yo, I'm coming up there doing this with Doc Space and Shakia Show. And we finally linked and met. And I was like, oh yeah, oh wait, yo, what's up? What's going on? They be kicking in and just sharing our experiences. Then we just connected off that side. So I'm
Yeah.
blessed and amazing to have that experience for sure.
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope. We started talking about the psych, I was like,
Yeah, get into the psych
oh,
stuff, man.
listen, people don't think it's real, but it's real. Real,
It's
real.
a whole different beast. I'm trying to tell
A
you, will
whole
make you or
different.
break you. Make or break you.
Lis- Listen, it's not for the weak at
Yeah,
all. So
yeah.
yeah, but no, what made you get into this arena of mental health? As a therapist, you know, um,
Mhm.
all of the above. What made you get into this?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I guess you would say a social worker by trade, but most of
Mhm.
my experience has been in mental health.
Yeah.
And in a variety of different settings. So I'm going on 11 years in the field of mental health, 7 years postgraduate from as a social worker, and I expand between psychiatric inpatient, crisis therapy,
Mhm.
substance use, community mental health treatment, jail population,
Mhm.
and just kind of seeing my share of different situations. Probably, I like to say I've seen most of the DSM-5 at this point,
Mhm.
face to face. Um, but it's interesting. I was just thinking about it the other day where um I if I was a teenager, and even in my 20s, did not see this path for
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
So I've always asked the question why people behave the way they do. Like I remember that's prominent in my my teenage years and kind of younger years. Like why do they do that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm come from a very rural area, and
Okay.
so I have one high school here, one middle school, couple elementaries. We
Okay.
cornfields, back roads, this, that, and the third. So
Okay.
my idea of what a social worker or a therapist would look like, I didn't know what they do. I didn't know what
Yeah.
they were about until I kind of got into the field a little bit more. And so I think that the but I've always, because I went into school wanting to own my own business, doing messing with cars.
Okay.
But I was minoring in psychology, and then just that psychology piece very, very, like, it intrigued me a lot. So that led me to getting my bachelor's level, and I knew that I couldn't, just hold a bachelor's level and be, sustainable
Right.
going forward into the future. So I was like, okay, I want to do my master's. I'm gonna go into either clinical psychology, forensic psychology, or social work. So I took the one-on-one social work class, was very, intrigued by it. And I asked the question again, why is everybody in micro social work, clinical social work? Um, and just ran from there. Went to a grad program, got into social work at George Mason University. I did my bachelor's undergraduate at Virginia Commonwealth University,
Okay.
and became a social worker. I focus on the policy side and the community side because that's where my heart is at. But
Right.
then as I, got my postgraduate job doing crisis work, I seen that there was still a need and there was a gap that I could fill as a clinical social worker, which led me to, getting my licensure. Because at some point, I really didn't want my license. I didn't care for it. I didn't want it. I
Yeah.
just wanted to do policy work. And this
Okay.
whole private practice, clinical therapy type thing, that's really more recent of the last 5 years. Because up until the last
Mhm.
5 years, I was not trying to be a licensed clinical social worker. So I my job kind of forced me to get it because we needed it. As
Okay.
far as, like, you had to get your hours to maintain that position. So it's kind of just one of
Mm.
the things I kept doing. And then I just seen the need, right? I just seen the
Yeah.
need for more black male therapists, black therapists in general. And I was like, I think I can do this, but I'm not sure. And then it just kind of manifested from there, man. So it's been
Yeah.
one of those things where, as long as I've been wanting to own my own business, I never thought it would be a private practice. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Mm.
But it has opened the door for me to do so many other things by doing so, and then also just helping people address the things they need to address. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But
mhm,
that's dope. That's dope. Like life changes, when you get in the field and you see what, as far as like the disparities, what's
right,
needed in the community, like what's needed for
hmm,
people in general, for
right,
all people.
right,
Like majority, like I kind of like pump like, hey, black people, let's
yeah,
get on this way because
right,
we need it to heal, and we need to not fix it but heal it, right? And
yeah,
so I kind of like pushed that's why I did social work Sunday T. I'm like, I was like, and it's kind of like goes into imposter syndrome. I feel
hmm,
like, oh, maybe I'm not, I don't
yeah,
get it, and
right,
I just feel like I was just compelled, and God was like, do it. And I was like, oh, I'm scared. But he was like,
yeah,
do it, just do it,
yeah, yeah,
and
hmm,
just get people more normalized as far as with mental health. Like this is a thing. It's a
yeah,
thing with schizophrenia. It's a thing with bipolar. You got people in your family, you got people amongst you that are dealing with that. And you don't even know it. So I
yeah,
want making people aware of what's going on, aware of what's going on around them. And
hmm, hmm,
that's what the purpose of social work Sunday T. I was like, hey, I'm finna get on here. I don't know how to do this. I'm finna do this, and I'm
yeah,
pretty much doing it as I go along, and I'm meeting
yeah,
people along the way on this journey. So I was like, all
yeah,
right, cool, bet. All right, you want to talk about this? All right, you want to talk about this? And so everybody that that's been on this journey with me, they've been saying yes, and I was like, for real? We don't know each other.
yeah,
You're like, for real, you gonna do that? It was like, yeah, just to come over
yeah,
and like educate the people. A lot of people they're not really, like I said, they're not in tune now because of
right.
the pandemic. They're getting more and more in tune, but I think as it as this journey goes along, it's gonna get bigger, it's gonna get better, especially for your
Hmm.
podcast as well. I was like,
Yeah,
hey, it's gonna get bigger and it's gonna get better. So yeah,
right.
so that's it's all about making people aware of the reality,
But
so
that's where I started. That's really where I started at. And if you want to talk about, like, okay, where did all this other extra stuff come from? Was, working in psych inpatient, and then still seeing the disparities and the recidivism
mhm, yeah,
around, mental health. Not as mental health as a whole, of course,
yeah,
there, but then specifically with the black community. And so that led to me, diving deeper into that, where I started initially Uphold was a community organization where I was doing speaking, events in my community
Okay.
around community issues,
Okay.
and there's some stuff that was going on with teens in the area and stuff like that. Again, with rural, and so it led to that. But then it incorporated like the mental health aspect. I was still so passionate about it because I was working in it and I was seeing
Mhm.
that the disparities and it just mostly the lack of education and awareness, right? Like, okay, well, if my son or daughter is dealing with mental situation in a crisis, where do I go? Who do I call? And
Mhm.
how does that process work? What does the process look like for psychiatric inpatient or psychiatric outpatient? And all this stuff that we talk like every single day, the
Mhm.
normal everyday person that's not in the field doesn't
Yeah.
talk that way. So that's what led me to write my first book, was called You Good Fam, in which it was
Mhm.
a book for us to learn about mental health in the Black community, what it looks like, what it feels like, because it's different for us, and kind of
Yeah.
get a foundational base. And so that foundational base and that kind of passion has spanned out into the work that I do now today, whether it's podcasting, therapy, speaking engagements,
Yeah.
facilitating, coming on here like this. This is
Yeah.
all expanded from that base, because we need to
Yeah.
learn, we need to know, and they need to hear from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
hear from us.
Definitely. Definitely. But yeah,
Hmm.
we're gonna dive into the topic of today, imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
Woo.
Hmm.
I am I'm gonna
Hmm.
admit, I be dealing with that. You be like, oh,
Yeah.
let me. So what is your definition of imposter syndrome?
Yeah. I was gonna wonder if you're gonna ask me that I need that was the clinical definition or the
I
Webster's
mean,
definition or not.
listen, I won't. Yeah, we can do both. You know what I'm saying?
That, yeah.
We can
Yeah.
do
I
both.
like to do the personal definition to break it down.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I define imposter syndrome as the fear of being exposed as a fraud,
Mm,
the fear of not belonging in a certain space that you are, occupying at that current moment, and also thinking that you don't have the capabilities or the tool sets to execute said maybe job duties, project
mm,
duties, or whatever you're trying to do. That fear and anxiety around not being able to perform, not being able to succeed, or not feeling like you're not good enough to get this done. That's kind of
mm,
how I frame it. And then I also look at it from a shame perspective as well, of just
mm.
like there's shame attached to this activity that has kind of hindered me from giving it my all because I'm scared that I'm not enough in those aspects. So
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
So that was good. That was good. So how do you tell if someone has imposter syndrome?
How do you tell?
Yeah, how can you tell? Like, what's some of the like things like give some examples of like
Yeah.
um imposter. Yeah.
I think like people like second guessing themselves around certain things, looking for constant reassurance, constant
Yeah.
validation that they're doing it right. I would say also some perfectionism in that, trying to get it really super perfect.
Yeah.
That that, and then also just some anxiety around, or maybe some anxiety or paralyzation. I'll be making words up in therapy, but being paralyzed,
Okay.
about doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I just think that, 9 times out of I know I do that all the time. Like, okay, I always second guess myself. Like, Shakira, do it or not do it. Then I call my
Hmm.
friend Sarah. I'm like, you think I should do this? And she's like,
Yeah,
girl, like you act like you don't even
yeah,
like, come on
yeah,
now. Like, what we doing?
yeah,
We doing this again? And I'm like, yeah, we are, And this is
yeah.
real. Like, I don't want people to think they by themselves when they, you know,
Hmm.
as far as like feeling that way. Cause you kind of like you second guess yourself and you're like, okay, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Like
Yeah,
my first speaking engagement, I had and it was like, oh, we want you to talk about mental health. And I was like, who, me? Like,
yeah,
you want me?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I felt like I
Uh-huh.
wasn't worthy enough. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I got the degrees, you know what I mean? And I've been in mental health for 8 years. Okay, like I know
Yeah.
that, but in my mind, I'm like, no, yeah, you sure? Yeah, I
I
think somebody else.
Yeah,
They was like, no, we want you. And I was just like, well, I don't know. So I had to call, man, I had to call I call her my rich auntie. I got to call my rich auntie. And I was like, they want me to have a speaking engagement. And I don't even know. She was like, who are you? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
Shakia. What you mean? You know what I'm saying? No,
Yeah.
who are you? And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Well, I had to get in like I had to shift my mindset. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you got this. Like, what are you doing? You know about mental health. You like you eat, you breathe
Right.
it every day. So you can
Yeah.
like you can spit that out. You know what I mean? And so I had to
Yeah.
call Dr. Thomas. I'm like, Thomas, they want me to speak. So I needed validation. I need confirmation, like I'm good
Yeah.
enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people suffer with that. You know, it's like overachievers. You know,
Uh-huh.
I felt like I wasn't doing enough, like as far as with my education. Oh, I
Right.
need to go back and get my doctorate degree because I feel like this ain't enough, you know.
Oh,
So
don't talk about that
I
doctor
deal
degree.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so layered. And I think
Yeah.
for us as black folks, it's layered. And I've seen some good discourse around this topic, around, imposter syndrome on Twitter, of talking about like our actual, is it imposter syndrome, or is it like that this space or this career field or this organization, this agency, is it imposter syndrome, or is it that this thing wasn't built for us to belong?
Mm,
And I think because I get little nuggets and gems from Twitter, everything else. Sometimes social media is just like stuff you just gotta let go and just
yeah.
remove yourself. But every once in a while, from the experts and the folks that's in it, right, I get some good stuff. And I thought that thing stuck with me so bad, because I'm like, yeah, when you think about us, right, as
Yeah.
black folks, right, we're trying to do these. We usually operate in spaces where it wasn't created for us. So like even the field of
Yeah.
social work, right, like that wasn't technically created for us, and it's not a lot of us, and so we are carving out and also challenging ideals, but also looking for that validation, trying to solidify itself in that space. And that can be
Yeah.
nerve wracking. That can,
Yeah.
rest with your psyche. And for example, since you shared that piece of like when, the fear of like public speaking, I'm looking at like, my thought was like, okay, the people that I look up to, they all use big words. They all speak in a very educational terminology. They speak very eloquent, clear, concise. This, that,
Yeah.
and the third. How am I going to podcast? How am I going to speak? How am I going to do
Yeah.
these things? Right.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I had to lean on was like, there's always somebody for somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you might not be able to meet this person, but somebody else might be. That person might
Mhm.
not be for that person, but you might not be for
Yeah.
that person, but Shakia might. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I had so much apprehension or so much like fear around using my slang, slurring my
Mhm.
words, talking too
Mhm.
fast, sharing my opinions, right? And in this space and field, or doing things out of the box that know there's a need, know there's a demand,
Mhm.
but okay, what would others think of this? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then second guessing myself, like, are you my thing of it too is also thinking about when you get the praise, are they praising really, really for that you did a good job? Or is it because you're the first black person they've seen speak this way and talk about this stuff in that certain way? And
Yeah.
then you start, and am I supposed to even be like, am I really supposed to be here? Because y'all only got me here because I'm black and I'm saying
Yeah.
this, and y'all only
Yeah.
said it was a good thing because I was just speaking something real coming from the heart. Like
Yeah.
or was I really, so it
Yeah.
gets layered like that.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh,
Hmm.
that triggered a little bit because it's like, okay, the, or you didn't expect me, you didn't know what to expect from me, like as far as like
Right.
for me to deliver, like, oh, I didn't know, like I didn't know you knew it like this, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's pressure, like
Yeah.
pressure on top of pressure, like even because I'm working in psych, and I challenge the doctors, like,
Right.
so we gonna put them on how many milligrams of Ativan? That's too much,
Right.
and I
Right.
advocate, I be speaking up, they be like, and it was like, well, I'm the doctor. I said, I know who you are. I know who you are.
Right.
What?
Right.
I know my people.
Right.
So
It-
are you gonna listen to me,
right.
or you gonna, and then it's their demeanor, and oh well, I went to whatever. He told me, and I
Yeah.
told him I ain't care where he went to. I don't care. At the end of the day, you ain't gonna
Yeah.
drug him up and dope him up. Like, what we
Yeah.
doing here? Yeah, so make
I can
people.
see that the effects of them walking down the hallway, they're not capable of functioning like that level. They can't,
Absolutely, like,
and they might not be able to advocate for themselves in this moment. So
yes.
Yeah,
What we
yeah,
doing? What
yeah.
we doing here? Like I man, I'm talking about like I got a mouth on me, and I be trying to restrain myself because I love my people, so I be like,
Right.
well, yeah. So we gonna be zombies all day? What we doing? I can't even interact with
Yeah.
them because they doped up. You know what I mean? They got the nod. So
Right.
and people in higher positions, they make you feel
Yeah.
sometimes less than. Like no, you're
Right.
not competent enough to know that. What are you talking about? Like
Right.
I can't read or write. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Right.
what we doing?
Yeah, I think we get caught up in that though too, because like
Yeah,
certain credentials or leadership roles,
yeah,
or the other piece of it, I think with the social media aspect, we could bring it down a little bit, like to kind of reality, right? We see folks with a large following or a large brand, this, that, and the third, and we assume we get
mhm,
intimidated by that, and then
yeah,
we second guess ourselves if we are like maybe doing something closely aligned or in proximity with them, and then we second guess like, am I supposed to be here? Or I can't do it that way, just that, how they do it. And
yeah,
second guessing ourselves and second guessing our worth, our value,
yeah,
our
yeah,
confidence and self-esteem within ourselves. And then when you meet these people or you do interact with them, you recognize that they're just normal, just like you. They have their own anxieties, they have their
yeah,
own fears, and they,
yeah,
they deal with some imposter syndrome as well. And I think this is something that we all deal with, especially even, from professionals higher ups, even down to, working 9 to 5 jobs and in our own spaces and our respective fields, that it kind of cripples us, right? And
yeah,
it makes
yeah,
us feel like we're small and
mhm,
we're not, significant. You feel what I'm
yeah,
saying? But you have to embrace who you are and what
yeah,
you bring to the table with that, because that's the only way you're going to overcome it. Because comparing yourself to each other people or second guessing what you can opportunity, a lot of times we are questioning what we can do, but we already do it well. And
yeah,
I think it's also looking at the piece of, well, I want these type of results, but I'm not getting it. So something
mm,
must be wrong with me, instead of the
mm,
patience piece, instead of waiting to, that opportunity meets that preparation, So
yeah,
some of that kind of comes into play as well.
yeah, definitely. Um, that man, that definitely and even with that, even with what I have going on, okay, am I doing this right? Okay, you try not to compare yourself, because when you compare yourself, you stay stagnant
Right.
at what you're doing. You're not progressing.
Right.
If you writing a book, I'm writing a book. It's a whole bunch of books out here. Like
Right.
why am I subjecting myself like, oh well, nobody's gonna buy it and da 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 because somebody else talking about the same thing, but you're the only you. You're there can only be
Mm-hmm.
one you. And I just
Mm-hmm.
had to come to the conclusion, like, Shakia, just if I'm in my own lane, if I have tunnel vision and keep going straight, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
worry about what's all the noise, of what's going on. A lot of people on social media, they like to hype things up, but they're not really half that stuff is not really
Yeah.
reality. They
It's
lying. You
all,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
it's all
Yeah,
brand strategy. I mean, if you
yeah,
study this social media influencers, and then you listen to that, they'll tell you how to modify and make that, a kind of a mirage, in the sense of that. That's the
yeah,
thing about it, right? Like,
yeah,
anybody can make a brand or platform on social media,
yeah,
um, and make it look like a certain way. Like, I can post all these different things for the next couple of days, and like, oh man, Trey killing it, or he doing his thing.
hmm,
But deep down, I might be like, yo, where the likes at? Or shoot, I'm down, depressed, I'm not feeling myself right
yeah,
now. But every photo was like, oh, Dre's amazing with his family. He's got an amazing
yeah,
business, he's
yeah,
growing, he's doing this. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's another element, that kind of the unintended consequences of social media in our generation, that has
yeah,
aided kind of someone in that imposter syndrome. And I've dealt with it too, as far as being a creative, not even just being a therapist, social worker, and this and that, but being a creative in that space, and like
yeah,
looking at my stuff or posting and saying like, dang, like, am I good enough because I ain't got this type of follower? Or am I good enough this that because I ain't got this type of,
yeah,
anybody not interacting and everything like that with me? So I think social media gives that kind of depiction of it, and it just gets
yeah,
ramped up. It's one reason why I get the fussing sometimes with some of the social media influencers,
hmm,
because they put up a false sense of reality, and then they make everybody think that
Mm-hmm.
this is how it should go or it should be. And then
Right.
when that's not the reality for the good portion of everybody, then you got people really down, depressed, not no confidence in themselves or struggling
Yeah.
with self-esteem because of what y'all putting out. And that's not fair. You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so once I gravitated towards understanding, like you said, I'm gonna run my own race, I'm gonna stay in my own lane and have that tunnel vision, right? And then
Mhm.
I know that I know my population, I know my stuff, I know what works, I got the tangible results, and I'm unique to myself,
Yeah.
then it is what it is. It's enough of us out there to,
Yeah.
and it's enough space for us.
Yep.
And the work ain't going nowhere. You could take a month off, you could take a year off, and you're gonna come back to more work. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So even if it don't hit the right person that needs to
Yep.
affect that different person, that doesn't mean that it's not going to do it tomorrow, the next
Yeah.
day, the following day, or the next year, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So we have to it just have to really kind of take that into reality. But I think it's because we like a lot of times we comparing ourselves when we kind of get sped up to trying to get
Yeah.
things results happening too soon versus kind of letting this thing build out.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta it come in layers. Like we have to like really
Yeah.
pace it's not a race, it's a marathon. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we just gotta keep going. Like, okay, this don't work. And it's trial and error. You know what I mean? Some stuff not gonna work. Like, okay,
Right.
well, let me go back to the drawing board and figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
know that you're worthy of like whatever you're trying to accomplish, you're worthy of getting that. You're worthy of
Yeah.
having that. So
Yeah.
I have to ask, is imposter syndrome? Someone asked me in my inbox before this show, like
Uh,
when I posted, hey, I'm doing imposter syndrome. They asked, is imposter syndrome a mental illness?
no. Not
Okay.
not to my knowledge of a DSM-5 diagnosable condition.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now the elements that might drive imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
like such as like depression or anxiety,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, then
Yeah.
that's a diagnosable condition.
Yeah.
Um, but this is kind of a concept that's been created over the past maybe I think I forgot how many years it was, but it's been recent. It's been around for a while from to my knowledge, and then it's been more prevalent recently in last pushing back out there last couple of years, 10, 15 years or so as we are learning more around mental health. Um, but also I want people to understand too, because a lot of people like to need something to label as far as what's
Hmm.
going on with
Hmm.
themselves. So it could be that the imposter syndrome is showing up as something that's undiagnosable or something that's a negative experience, traumatic experience
Yeah.
that's happened in the past that's continuing to be present and you haven't dealt with it yet. So it's showing
Mhm.
up as, imposter syndrome, something like that. So
Yeah.
that's where it gets layered because usually this is tied, I say it's tied to shame, which is tied to certain experiences that we've had in our life that have popped up and made us the way we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, no, that's not what that is. I was like, that's more like I said, the fear. And
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was pondering to myself, like, I think it's the imposter syndrome. It's kind of like, in a sense, I kind of like be jumping on my body a little bit, but like I feel like it's the fear of being successful or succeeding. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm,
oh,
mm-hmm.
like we're stopping. Nope. The panic
Right.
button, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? I think that's
Right.
what it is because like whatever we put our minds to, look, we do it. You know what I'm saying? We always,
Right.
we always, we always win. You know what I mean? What
Yeah.
other, other avenues or different routes we have to go, but we always get to our common goal. If that's what you
Yeah.
really, really, really want, so I just think that it's kind of like the that thing that keeps you like from moving, going to the next level or going to another phase in your life or whatever you're trying to do. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that that's what I wrote in my journal. So like every topic I go back and I be like, all right, let me see, let me just
Mm-hmm.
jot some stuff down. But
Mm-hmm.
how can people um like overcome that? Like what are some strategies or some ways? I know we kind of like touched on them, but to help the people as far as like move past that, because like as far as being like you feeling like you're an imposter, you feeling like, okay, I'm not worth this. What are some things that you would do to be able to like overcome and keep going, keep that, keep that drive going, to move forward.
Yeah. The biggest thing I talk about with guys or everybody is the goals aspect of it, of like where you trying to go, right?
Yeah.
And being realistic with it. And that's like, is that your goal or is that somebody else's goal?
Yeah.
A lot of times you get a lot of overarching general goals, which is fine if that's what you want. But it's not specific enough. So like I kind of practice with like my clients or anybody, like, yo, you want, oh yeah, I want a house by such and such time. Okay, well, what type of
Mhm.
house? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think me personally, I think the more specific the goal, the easier it is to stay on track with it. Um, but if it's too generic, then just like in treatment plan, if it's too generic of treatment goals, then what do we kind of do? Just decrease my anxiety. Okay, but how? Like
Mm.
what's going on? What's dealing with it? So I think the one piece is knowing where you're going, like where are you trying to go? Have some like that goal direction piece of it, and then making specific goals like to each situation. I'm talking about for everything. Like
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just think, oh well, just I gotta make specific goals for career wise, house wise, money wise. Nah, specific goals around
Yeah.
anything. Like, okay, well, I want this type of household. I want this type of,
Mhm.
diet. You know what I'm saying? I want this type of furniture. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like super specific. Um, and then, so because that way it'll narrow it down. You don't have this
Mhm.
wide road, but you have this narrow road. And if you got to veer off, you veer off, but you got this narrow road. I think the other piece is understanding too, validation. A lot of people say, don't listen. Like it's kind of social media influence type thing that comes up. Well, you block out the noise. Don't listen to what other people think. Don't give their like. Don't give in to other people's opinions of yourself. Like that doesn't. That's not yourself center. But the piece of this is understanding that we all seek validation. We
Mhm.
all need validation in some
Yeah.
form or capacity.
Yeah.
So we have to dispel that myth. Like, because sometimes I think we do make ourselves too individualistic, but
Yeah.
we all need validation in some form capacity. The
Yeah.
piece of it that gets us in trouble is that when we start allowing that validation from others to
Mm.
dictate how we feel versus the internal validation that we feel about ourselves, then that's when we go into these circular type tasks or circular type activities where we're only doing these things to appease others, to hear
Yeah.
from others, to hear the validation of others. And
Yeah.
then we don't feel internally happy or satisfied, fulfilled with ourselves because we are at the whims or the whips of the everybody else.
Yeah.
So our happiness or fulfillment is tied to what others think of us in that validation piece. So
Mm.
you have to develop that internal validation about how you see yourself, how you view yourself, and where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I break that down in that sense. And I think lastly is just understanding like you have to. There's a period of time where it might feel like you're on an island by yourself, um, in reference to what you need to do. If it's
Yeah.
specific to you and it's something that God has given you and shown to you, it's going to feel like you're all alone. And it's
Yeah.
going to feel like nobody can either craft it the way you do or can see it the
Yeah.
way you do. People will shoot it down.
Yep.
And I've had that situation where like I had ideas, friend groups hear
Yeah.
it, oh well, you shouldn't do that, or you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, but I this is what I feel I should do, right? And so
Yeah.
I one thing I also say is that just because your inner circle or your wise counsel is your wise counsel doesn't mean you have to kind of doesn't mean you put your stuff on the back burner or don't do something because your wise counsel said don't do it or it's not a good
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I bucked the system on a lot of different things or the recommendations of my wise counsel that they said wouldn't be a good idea, or you shouldn't do this, or you should do this, should do it this way. And I did it my way and it worked
Yeah.
out. You
Yeah.
feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's going to help build the confidence is that the more you try these things on your
Mm.
own, you might fall flat, you might fail. I don't really believe in failure. I believe it's just a missed opportunity and learning opportunity. But these are learning opportunities.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more confidence you get to do it based upon what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
that will reinforce that confidence in yourself, reinforce that person, that who you are in whatever space you're doing, or even down to what parenting. We was talking about parenting earlier, like reinforcing that you are a good parent,
Yeah.
reinforcing that you are a good spouse,
Yeah.
but you have to do things based upon what you want to do that fits you, not everybody else, and it doesn't fit the opinions of others.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of kind of what we can do in a nutshell, is just really looking at those what 3-4 things.
Yeah, yeah. I like how you said, when you listen to other people, it's kind of like they change in form of what's on the inside of you, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of, your friends, your family members, they shape and they kind of like, not saying manipulate, they kind of like change they change your view of what you already, where you already know on the inside of you,
But see,
and sometimes you gotta,
sometimes,
yeah.
but they
No, go ahead.
project they project their own anxieties,
Oh my God,
fears, or
they did.
insecurities onto you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
by way of
yeah,
questioning what you're trying to do. And so it's
yeah,
coming off, because it's your wise counsel, and it's coming off as
yeah,
constructive feedback or criticism in a sense,
yeah,
but they would never do it. They would never act it out because their own insecurities, fears, and anxieties, that's nothing against them, but that's
yeah,
projection onto you. Now
yeah,
you dealing with that, you start second guessing yourself as if you are, what I'm saying, with that. So me personally, I kind of fight back on that type of stuff
yeah. You
with my
challenged
inner
it. Yeah,
circle. Yeah, I
yeah,
challenge it. I've
yeah,
been
yeah,
challenging it. And so, but yeah, that's kind of one of those things that happen sometimes.
yeah. Like I'd be like, like even now, sometimes I keep my thoughts to myself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and I just do it because I
yeah,
don't. Even though I am already scared, I'm gonna beat my hand and stuff like. But
yeah.
even though I'm already scared, I'm still gonna do it. Like I'm
Hmm.
like last year I did the prom. I was scared, like because I was like, I'm scared. Nobody gonna show up. I know, I was trying to get 200 people in the room, and I was like, I bet. I'm gonna advertise. I'm advertising, advertising, advertising. So I got the people. I got 100 and like 130 people, whatever. And I was like, I bet. But before then, I was like, I think I'm gonna throw a prom.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah.
well, I don't want to go to prom. I was like, I ain't asked you. I ain't asked
I
you.
ain't asked you that.
I
I ain't asked
ain't
you
asked
that.
you that. Like I was just giving my ideas, but don't sit up there and shoot it down. But I did it. So it's
Right.
like when people like when they be coming to me with that negative energy and that vibe, whatever, and then kind of like we said, project that fear. I'd be like, nah, I'm good. Now, I learn now, but back then it's like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it. And then here I go back into the shell, and I'm like, no, I'm about to roar.
yeah,
I'm about to,
yeah. You
hit
you
the
got
ground running. Yeah,
yeah, you got to understand who you can share that information with and who you can't.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be the, for me, anything that I do, right? Anything that I do on a large scale, a big vision behind it, the only person that knows is my wife.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
And then if I trust you and I
yeah,
pick up on that you are genuine and you
yeah,
do support me, then I
yeah,
might share pieces of that. But if you're talking
yeah,
about like the full grand scale vision, you got
yeah,
to be really, really tied in with me, and then you
yeah,
have to have experience that shows me that you're
yeah,
not just looking to shoot it down, or you're scared as a result of that and
yeah,
projecting that onto me, because I've had that experience before.
yeah.
So, and that only really is a small group of people, but
Mm-hmm.
the person that get the whole schematics and the deep dives and all of it is my wife. I go to
Yeah,
her first,
yeah.
and then I think about it, because she prayer warrior and all that good
All
stuff.
right.
So
Come
I
on,
give it to
cousin.
her first and say, "What you think
Yeah,
about this?" And I let her kind of discern and let me know if that's a good place to be moving or not
yeah,
good to be place to moving. But other side of the sushi kid is that we talk about speaking. I was at a speaking engagement a couple weeks ago, and the event coordinator, she was just like, I wish we had more people coming out, or standing there. I say, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? This is how it goes sometimes. And then one lady asked a question. It was like, how do you continue to keep going and doing this when you don't have a great turnout?
yeah.
And my response to her was that I've spoken to an empty room before. You know,
Mm,
now I know that's not everybody's experience, and I know some people might not align with that and might just call it quits or throw it in. But I
yeah.
spoke to an empty room before that had an
Mm,
event, that was
Mm.
supposed to have a couple people show up, you know what I'm saying, that didn't.
Yeah.
And I spoke to an empty room and just said, I did it. I still did this supposed speaking thing, like people were there,
Yeah.
recorded it, uploaded it, and went on my way. So
Yeah.
that in and of itself,
Yeah.
actually, at my church. Yeah, it was at my church because ain't nobody ended up showing. It was a busy day that day. Um,
Mm.
maybe two, three people were there.
Yeah.
That was with me. That was like,
Yeah.
record, taking pictures, and then my
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
Nobody else showed up.
Yeah.
That has turned into 20, 30, 40, 50,
Yeah.
100 folks in the room. I'm speaking at conferences and speaking to
Yeah.
larger group of population where the room is filled up. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I had let some of that imposter syndrome or let some of that, oh well, you ain't good enough, anybody coming out, see you speak, let that
Yeah.
creep in and stay there,
Oh God.
then you wouldn't see this version of me today.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same
Mm-hmm.
here. Like, and like I said, I do it while I'm scared. Like even now, I still gotta keep going, keep going, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and not and I struggle too, like being a people pleaser too. And when you were talking about that, I was like, that's people pleasing. Like when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to like when you hear, you try to accommodate everybody else. You try to,
Mm-hmm.
make
Mm-hmm.
sure everybody else good, and I'm not good on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm just like, help me, please. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm,
Mm-hmm.
my creativity and my mojo is working, but it's like here I am again. All right, let me go ahead
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
put what I feel to the side, because I mean my feelings are valid, and everybody feelings are valid, but they're not permanent. So and I keep
Yeah.
working. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So I think with this imposter syndrome, people, you have to challenge and change the mindset, and be around positive people, like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that are on board. There are, that really, really genuinely support you and be able to, call you for real, like be like, hey, you got this. Come on, let's go. Because you need
Yeah.
a village. You need a
Right.
village, a village on top of a village to be like, all right, come on, what we doing? Keep going.
Right.
I got your back. You got it. You've been
Yeah.
doing it so long. What we
Yeah,
doing?
but you need the people that can dream and dream with you. If you can't,
Yeah,
if they don't dream with you,
yeah,
and they're not dreamers or visionaries themselves, in
yeah,
that aspect of creativity, then
yeah,
they're not going to fit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, because you're going to need that piece of support and like push the, go, but you're
yeah,
also going to need some people that kind of perspective to say, okay, well, I see where you're going with that, but what about this?
yeah,
Or I see where you're going with that. Um, and I like that, but try this. Like, so
yeah,
they can help. Sometimes they can help take that and scale it down a little bit, or clear it, or make it clear for you, right? Like, I got
yeah,
this idea, got this thought, and not shooting it down. That's the
yeah,
thing about the difference. The wise counsel, right?
yeah,
They
yeah,
shouldn't be shooting it down. They shouldn't
yeah,
be dismissing it.
yeah,
They should be
yeah,
there to enhance it, to
yeah,
grow it, to water it, to support it, and to show it. Right? That's the side people that you want on your side, your
yeah,
credential side. They're not going to say that you shouldn't do that. It's not going to work.
yeah,
They should be able to say that could work, but try
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Give me options. Give me
yeah,
opportunities to look at it differently. And then you can kind of push back and not. But when they
yeah,
start killing the dream, killing the vision, and dismissing,
yeah,
that's where it shows up really heavy. And
yeah,
this is also the other thing with too, where with the failure piece, because everybody talks about fear of failure, fear of the
yeah,
unknown.
yeah,
And I challenge that, especially even with my clients in therapy. And then even when I challenge it, I start to think of like start second guessing myself as a therapist, because like, should I be doing this because failure is a thing that happens a lot,
yeah,
that people show up. But to me, failure is only a social construct that has been put out there
mm,
to make this experience super negative, as if we have failed the world.
yeah,
Failure to me is a learning opportunity or a missed opportunity. We
mm,
might have made a mistake. We might have missed out on something. We didn't see something. That's all it means to me. It doesn't mean you failed.
yeah,
Because if we're talking about fail, that's a test.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
test, right? That's a
yeah,
test. Like, I got an A, B, C, D, or E, F on the test, or E, B, D,
Yeah.
or F on the test. I
Yeah.
didn't pass the test. But even if I didn't pass the test, what does that mean? I didn't know the material, or I didn't study the way I should. I need to
Yeah.
go back and redo that. It doesn't mean I
Yeah.
failed at anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So these are these mistakes or these things I feel like that kind of reinforce that imposter syndrome or how we feel about ourselves that we deem as failure. We magnify and make it so heavy and heavy that if we would just reframe it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
reframe it and reshape it to, okay, well, this is a missed opportunity or a learning opportunity that I can grow from. I
Yeah.
did well right here, but I didn't do well on this. I need to work, make this work. Then you do that, you
Yeah.
back on track. You feel what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's that piece of it also aids into the imposter syndrome because we had this whole thing failure thing, and it's not. I don't think failure is real
Yeah.
outside of a
Yeah.
test.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You know.
like that. I like that.
Hmm.
I'm about to take that. I'm going
Yeah,
ahead and
go ahead.
take that.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna take
Yeah.
it. I'm going ahead to take that. Yeah, that's I mean, man, that's dope. Like that's good information. Good information. I hope everybody, absorb this information and tap into your inner self, your inner being. If you have a therapist, go see a therapist. Get around people that is your village. And to
Yeah.
help promote and to push you along the way. Because this we all trying to get through this thing called life, and there's
Right.
no easy task, but
No. Mm-mm.
no, not
And
at
our
all.
experiences shape that, right? And
Yeah,
so I think that our past experiences, it could be something like from grade school or high school that happened that now is manifest in adulthood. So I think
yeah,
that's where we need to kind of do some of that self exploration, either in therapy, counseling, or whatever you need to do to kind of address some of those things that have shown up. So even in my new book, I got a new book coming out in October called Refresh the Journey to Find Peace.
oh,
I talk about the personal challenges that I've had since
mhm,
childhood and adolescence that have shown up in my 20s and my 30s, right? Like
mhm,
something as simple as me not making a basketball team, but also trying to overachieve to show that I can play basketball, but my
yeah,
coaches are not allowing me to play, not giving me no playing time, saying I can't play two
yeah,
street, this, that, and the third, but I can go over here on the pickup games and play ball, go play AAU and be fine. And
yeah,
then that whole psyche of trying to be perfect, but also trying to attack every situation with this chip on my shoulder
yeah,
at with a whole family and career. It's
yeah,
the pickup basketball game, my guy. What are you doing? Right. And then that translates into like different areas of my life in the field or social
yeah,
work, mental health as a man, and just going after things and taking it as a challenge. And my wife will tell you all the time, I take, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm taking it as a challenge and I'm gonna do it. That to me, as I'm
yeah.
thinking back and going through therapy, that stemmed from ninth grade, 10th grade
Wow. Yeah,
basketball and these coaches.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
with my dad, it wasn't with my dad. My dad was let me do what I need to do on the basketball court. But these
Hmm.
coaches did that. So then
Yeah,
that translates, you know, to multiple different careers,
yep,
and parenting and adulthood.
yep,
That's
yep,
the imposter syndrome where I felt like I wasn't good enough because I wasn't getting this playing time, but I could do this over here. And
yeah,
then it started manifesting differently in other places because I had a chip on my shoulder because I needed to know, or I needed this validation that I was, good enough, or I had
yeah.
needed this validation that I could play basketball. And I was only trying to appease coaches from 15 years ago.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah, yeah. That's real. Like people don't. Hey, that's real. Like stuff from
yeah,
from from childhood, you be like, well, I didn't even know.
yeah,
I didn't know that it affected me like that.
yeah. Because we just
You know?
normalize it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We normalize
Yeah.
everyday experience and say, okay, that's what it is. And it's like, but how
Yeah.
deeper does it go? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's good. When did it come out? When your book come out?
October 29th, 2022, which is my birthday,
All right.
comes out then. So
Okay.
I'm excited for that.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I don't want to, prolong the time, all that good stuff. How can everybody
Yeah.
find you on social media platforms?
Yeah, yeah. My website, www.uphold318.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, retro_GT. Facebook, I'm on here as Trey Taylor, I believe. And then I got my refresh book page as well. And then if you want to listen to my podcast called Everybody Relax Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and
Yeah.
any other digital streaming platforms.
All right. That's good. But no, thank you so much for getting on the can't even talk. But thank you for getting on Social Work Sunday.
Yeah,
It's greatly, greatly appreciated. We family now, we cousins. Tell
yeah, yeah, yeah.
tell my cousin, I said, hey, tell everybody
I
I said
got
hey.
you.
So whenever
I
y'all
got
come to
you.
Chicago, let me know. Get y'all some chicken with some mild sauce on there.
Yeah, I need to immerse in the experience of Chicago, man. I ain't have enough time to get everything, man. I was blown, man. I ain't gonna eat this pizza. No, you said they got wings. I was like, man, what? I ain't did nothing, man. I'm back in Virginia, man.
Listen, I would have brought you a 6-piece. If I would have
See,
known, I'm like, he go six
see,
piece mild sauce on there with the fries, and he go your
yeah,
bun, get you a grape soda, pop,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah. Man, next time. Next
Okay,
time.
I got
Next
you.
time.
I got
I
you. I got
got
you. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. You guys have a great and productive Sunday. I'll see you guys on next week, and make sure you um follow Trey. Make sure you follow all his social media platform. Dope brother, and we cousins now. So everybody that get on the podcast, we all family now. So
family.
it's for the
Yeah.
people, it's for the culture, and I'll see you guys on next Sunday. All right. Bye, y'all.
See y'all.
Oh, wait. I can't.